Well, look at this, it's a Sonic v Sonic special, where I'll be comparing two Sonics and their respective worlds to find out which one is truly the king. For the sake of clarity though, this video is not made for kids. While it does juggle a topic that kids might be interested in, it's all very much from an adult perspective. Kids shouldn't even be on YouTube anyway, they should be playing with Matchbox cars, or Captain Action, or watching the Adam West Batman TV series. Go make a crude fan film where James Bond fights a dinosaur or something and show it to your uncle. Once again, this video is sponsored by NordVPN, and you can get 4 months free with a 3-year subscription by using my discount code. Everything you need is in the description below, so check it out. Alright, onwards. So during the early 90s, while Sonic was still new, of course there was a TV series tie-in, but what was interesting about Sonic was there was not one, but two TV series spin-offs, one of which was a Ren and Stimpy inspired educational show. Ren and Stimpy inspired educational show. Alright, I never thought I'd hear any of those words in the same sentence. The other was a series of Saturday morning adventures that rely a lot more on storytelling and character. The Ren and Stimpy-esque educational show was called The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, and the story-based adventure series was called Sonic the Hedgehog, and they both aired parallel to one another, with Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog running from 1993 to 1996, and Sonic the Hedgehog running from 1993 to 1994. Alright, it's confusing enough that we have two different shows centered on the same character by the same animation studio with the same acting cast in it. But then there's those titles, which are both so similar. So I'm going to call The Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog Adventures, and I'm going to refer to Sonic the Hedgehog as Saturday. It'll save some time and some confusion. Right, now before you all point it out in the comments below, yes, I'm biased. I have a preference and I compare these shows based on that. There really is no other way of doing this. Any kind of ranking, review, or comparison is always going to fall down to subjective opinion. So keep this in mind when discussing it in the comments below. And don't make yourself look like an idiot. You might not agree with me, but I like one show better than the other. That's why I'm making this video. So I've divided this up into 7 different categories. Category 1 will be story, Category 2 will be cast of characters, Category 3 will be animation and presentation, Number 4 will be music, Number 5 will be voice cast, Number 6 will be the villain, and Number 7 will be Sonic himself. So let's begin with Adventures. Adventures is pretty light on story. These are generally nonsensical, wacky, moral tales, and they generally consist of a formula. Robotnik has a new harebrained scheme and sends out his supersonic search and smash squad to put his plans into motion. They're incompetent, and Sonic basically goes ahead and pokes fun at them, eventually leading to the defeat of Doctor Robotnik, and then by the end, Sonic usually learns something in the process, or teaches us something. And then at the end, you get a little segment where Sonic jumps up on his soapbox to tell kids kind of things to avoid doing in day-to-day life. It can be as important as Sonic telling you not to accept a stranger touching you in a place or in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, or it can be as nonsensical as him telling you not to climb into a dryer. Flipping over, we've got the Saturday morning cartoon, which is much more substantial in regard to storyline. The antics of Sonic and Robotnik have both been dialed down massively, as while this show has its comedic moments, it's certainly not a comedy show. Dr. Robotnik is now the commander of the Robotnik Empire, and is truly a force to be reckoned with, and basically he's already taken over the world, or as it's referred to in these two cartoons, Planet Mobius. He is a cruel and cold-hearted dictator, much more akin to Darth Vader, and the robots he commands are much more akin to the Stormtroopers, which I guess is appropriate as Sonic has always drawn a little bit of inspiration from Star Wars, especially with the Death Egg. Sonic now effectively works as kind of the secret weapon of a team called the Freedom Fighters, who are out to take back Mobius from the clutch of evil Dr. Robotnik. The episodes take on a much more serialized format as well, and delve much more into the relationships of the characters. We learn a little more about Sonic's heritage this time around, and the impact that Dr. Robotnik succeeding has on Mobius. So, when it comes down to story, it just depends on what I like better, what I think better suits Sonic the Hedgehog. And of course, everybody has a different vision of what this character should be, but in my opinion, both of these concepts and stories are great. The world of the Saturday morning cartoon is a bleak one that's holding on to hope. The world of Adventures is just tripping balls 24/7, and I can see the beauty in both of these things. I actually really enjoy the formula of the Adventures series as well, because it really suits Sonic, and brings out the best in his mischievous sensibilities, which is part of what the character's whole appeal was in the 90s. That's still there in the Saturday morning cartoon, but it's significantly dialed back. So, for story, it's a tie. Oof. We're off to a thrilling start. Next up is the cast of characters. Adventures keeps things pretty small scale with its characters. The main focus of the show is definitely Doctor Robotnik this time around. Most of the time it starts from his perspective. But what gives these shows their respective identities is kind of the characters that our main characters are surrounded by. In Adventures, Doctor Robotnik is surrounded by his super special Sonic Search and Smash squad, which consists of Scratch, Grounder, and Coconuts. Scratch is a robotic chicken who, I don't know what practical purpose he really has, to be honest, but he's supposed to be more kind of the brains of the super special Sonic Search and Smash squad. But I mean, he's really just as much a numbskull as the rest of them, he's just a bit more logical. Then we have Grounder, who's kind of unabashedly a numbskull. He's more the brawn of the group, and definitely has a lot more functionality with his drill hands, which can be converted into literally anything from a claw to a watermelon somehow. And I just love how nonsensical that is. And then we have Coconuts the monkey, who is probably more recognizable from the video games than Scratch and Grounder are, although there are certainly some robots that you could definitely attribute to them in the games. Coconuts is basically the brown nose of the group, kissing ass to Dr. Robotnik. And boy is there a lot of ass to kiss there. He's kind of the punching bag of the group. Right, moving on to Sonic's side, Tails is a much larger presence in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog than he is in the Saturday morning cartoon. Keep in mind, this was pretty much before Tails was really established as a character properly in the video games. They didn't really know about the whole genius thing at the time, so Tails is portrayed much more as like a little brother to Sonic that Sonic's always looking out for, but he also kind of serves as a voice of reason. It gives the show a sense of sentimentality, and there's a really wonderful episode where Tails is looking for his real parents. And, well, things don't go to plan, and Sonic and Tails end up just getting closer than ever before. Nope, that didn't read right. That was definitely better in my head. It's a nice, heartwarming thing, the dynamic between Sonic and Tails here. You have other reoccurring characters such as village people and stuff, but they're generally just townfolk archetypes that the show needs to kind of have a sense of world building. Let's move on to the Saturday morning end of things, which is told much more from Sonic's perspective than Robotnik's. Robotnik definitely takes more of a back seat in this show than he did in Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, as he's pretty untouchable this time around. He does have a sidekick, and his name is Snively. And, well, Snively basically does exactly what he says on the tin. He's the sniveling kiss-ass henchman to Dr. Robotnik, but not in the comedic sense like Coconut is. Snively is basically what General Hux is to Kylo Ren. It's so easy to make Star Wars comparisons when it comes to Sonic. Okay, so things are a bit more barren on the villain side of things, but let's take a look at the heroes, where we have the Freedom Fighters. So Sonic has a sort of girlfriend in this one called Princess Sally Acorn. Guess what? She's a squirrel. But she's certainly no damsel in distress. She's kind of just as much a hero as Sonic is in this. But she's a lot more sensible. I get the sense that she kind of wears the pants in this relationship, which I guess makes sense as Sonic is never seen wearing pants. When it comes to Sally, I can't really speak for the Archie comics because I haven't really read them. Not really in depth anyway. There is also Antoine, who kind of has a crush on Sally also. And Antoine is a French stereotype. Tails is barely existent in this. You've got Rota, who is a walrus, and he works as kind of a mechanic for the team. Pretty sure Tails should have been doing that, but okay. And you've got Bunny Rabot, who's kind of like a semi-roboticized rabbit, who has kind of this hard-as-nails country girl attitude. Right, I think that's it for the Freedom Fighters lineup. There are other characters like Uncle Chuck, who is Sonic's uncle, who plays kind of a father figure role to Sonic, and he too has been roboticized. There's a lot of sort of robo-body horror in this, and there's definitely a lot that can be said about that, but I'm gonna give the point for this one to Adventures. I just enjoyed the cast dynamic of the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog a whole lot better, especially with Sonic and Tails' brotherly bond. It's just that much more convincing and that much more wholesome. Remember, this is not a criticism of the Saturday morning show, it's just where my preference lies. I also much prefer the character dynamic of Doctor Robotnik with his super special Sonic Search and Smash squad. How many S's is that? Super special Sonic Search and Smash squad. So 6 S's. Let's just call it the 6 S's. I'm gonna write that down quickly. Alright, let's move on to animation and presentation. So this kind of means like art style, fluidity of the animation, and the aesthetic. Adventures definitely shares a lot more in common with the video games, with loop-de-loops and very art deco style artwork. And like the games, it is simple but effective. But it can also be extremely expressive as well. With the Saturday morning cartoon though, the animation and art style is just a lot more polished. It's a lot more atmospheric and there's a lot more work going into the backgrounds. they're a bit more realistic and the Robotnik eras are a lot more grungy. Overall, there's some really great design work on either side, but I think this time, I couldn't in good faith not give the point to the Saturday morning cartoon. It's just a lot more elaborate and carefully produced. Alright, music time. And music is always going to be one of the most important things about Sonic the Hedgehog. Neither one of these shows nails it with absolute bops or anything like that, but Adventures certainly has more in common with the video games, with its main theme being clearly some interpretation of the Sonic 1 and 2 theme. You've got Scratch and Grounder's theme, which is clearly a take on the Hall of the Mountain King, which I'm surprised copyright didn't dictate against. And then you've got Robotnik's theme, which is very goofy, very antagonistic, but certainly memorable. Flipping over to the Saturday morning cartoon, we've got a vocal track as the main theme. It's very dated and corny, but it's memorable. I'm probably in the minority in thinking that Burning Way Past Cool was a better opening theme than the one they went for. Still dated, but definitely less so. Other than that, it's all just pretty dramatic. It's definitely a lot more dramatic than it was in Adventures. It's not bad music, but I would certainly say that Adventures definitely has more in common with the idea of what Sonic is supposed to be. So the point goes to Adventures. Moving on to voice cast. Obviously, there's a lot more to do with the Saturday morning cartoon than there is with Adventures, because you've got a lot more characters to be working with overall. Both versions of Sonic share the same voice actor, Jaleel White, who's very much considered to be the definitive voice of classic Sonic, and I can see why. I've also really got to give both shows credit for giving Tails the voice of a little boy. That's something you rarely see these days. In Adventures, Tails was voiced by Christopher Welch. In the Saturday morning version, it was Bradley Pierce. Both voices fit the character really well, but I think Christopher Welch definitely had more of the little brother vibe to him, which I really liked. That does, of course, kind of come down to the character dynamic, but the voice just thrives better in Adventures. All the freedom fighters sound fine, the voice acting is actually really good across the board in the Saturday morning cartoon. But I really enjoyed the voice cast of Dr. Robotnik's 6S squad in Adventures, as they were all incredibly wacky. In Adventures, Dr. Robotnik was voiced by the legendary Long John Baldry, who I think is the definitive voice of the USA version of Dr. Robotnik. Now, just to clarify, I refer to him as the USA version of Robotnik as he's a drastically different character from how Japan portrayed Robotnik in the video games, so don't worry, as far as the Japanese video game Robotnik is concerned, the definitive English voice for him is definitely Mike Pollock. Although I do have a lot of love for Dean Bristow. Moving over to the Saturday morning cartoon again, Robotnik is voiced by the equally legendary Jim Cummings. And just, is there anything that guy can't do? His voice is terrifying. That's easily the scariest voice Robotnik has ever had. It's just intimidating and raspy, and he just indulges in everything he says. Ugh. An equally great performance, I'd say. But for me, the point goes to Adventures. It just steals it in this case. I think the voice performances just match the characters a little bit better in Adventures, and they're more expressive. I like the more cartoonish, over-the-top Robotnik with his cartoonish, over-the-top henchmen, more than I like the more serious world of Adventures Sonic the Hedgehog, so accordingly, the voice acting in this one is just going to do it for me more than it does in the Saturday morning cartoon. So the next category is villain. We'll be comparing the two versions of Dr. Robotnik. We've got the flamboyant, hot-headed, hair-brained version of Dr. Robotnik from Adventures, as portrayed by the legendary Long John Baldry, and we've got the sinister, indulgent Dr. Robotnik as portrayed by the equally legendary Jim Cummings. And I'm sorry, but Adventures Robotnik just wins it this time. He's got many famous quotes, such as, "I'll have to give myself a promotion," "You nincompoops," "I hate that hedgehog," and of course, "Snoopingus usual." I also love the way he rolls his R's, and because he regularly and flamboyantly talks about himself in the third person, we get to hear a lot of that. Jim Cummings just doesn't get as much to do as Long John Baldry did, but Jim Cummings does make amazing use of his voice, and the comparatively little screen time that he gets. This was so almost a tie, but yeah, villain Adventures. All the way, no apologizing. So then, of course, it all falls down to the main man, Sonic the Hedgehog. Which of these two shows portrayed Sonic better? In Adventures, Sonic is very mischievous. He's clearly having a ridiculous amount of fun while taking down Dr. Robotnik's harebrained schemes. But his sort of Achilles heel is Tails. It's when Tails gets in trouble that this version of Sonic really kind of sobers up a bit. This version of Sonic is not afraid of Dr. Robotnik in the slightest. He doesn't take him seriously at all, and will go out of his way to prank him. And that's just it, he's much more of a prankster in this version. He's a master of disguise, including dressing in drag, which is always hilarious. Like, he doesn't just defeat Robotnik, he humiliates him on the daily, going so far as to marry him. Like, you could ask, how much does this Sonic not take Robotnik and his goons seriously? There's a stage, there's an instance where Sonic goes up to a robot, looks it straight in the eye, points and says, "I'm over there." and then the robot just runs in that direction, while Sonic basically just dusts his hands off. I'm sorry, but Saturday Morning Sonic, how can you compete with that? Well, Saturday Morning Sonic is still a dude with tood, very much so, and he's in a much darker, more high-stakes situation than our Adventures Sonic. He still indulges in humiliating his enemies as much as he can, but he definitely doesn't get the chance to as much. This is also a Sonic that very much fears Robotnik and rarely ever actually defeats him. Like, he wins the fight, but he never wins the ongoing conflict, which in many ways makes him a more interesting and mature character than our Adventures counterpart. But I just can't resist the charm of Adventures. So, point goes to Adventures. So 1 out of the 7 rounds was a tie between Adventures and the Saturday Morning Cartoon. The Saturday Morning Cartoon won 1 out of 7 of the rounds, and Adventures won 5. So it's pretty clear which show of the two that I prefer. But remember, this is in no way a criticism of what the Saturday Morning Cartoon is. In fact, I would still debate that it is a superior show on a lot of different levels. Here's the thing, Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog takes cues from a very nonsensical show, Ren and Stimpy, but it is nowhere near as sharp in wit as Ren and Stimpy. And that's saying something, because Ren and Stimpy was considered pretty dull-witted. Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog is very, very lazily made, to the point where I just don't think the writers were even trying. But the fact is, they're having such a good time with how nonsensical this is, and indulging in how stupid it is so much, that it kind of becomes reverse art. And that's kind of what I love so much about it, is other writers would just not ever do any of this, but these guys just go the whole hog. Whole hog. The Saturday morning show is kind of more carefully crafted and is legitimately a high-quality adventure show. But Adventures is just, it's too much fun. We're having a good time. It's just my preference. It's stupid. It's really stupid. It's like comparing Rick and Morty to Family Guy. And what can I say? I just prefer Family Guy. Well, what do you guys think? Comment below and discuss. And as always, if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, don't forget to hit subscribe, hit the like button, and in the description below are the links to my Patreon and my Discord. Thank you so much for watching, guys, and have a great day. That's a cute outfit. Did your husband give it to you? Because you could get a way better costume from Zentai Zone. Check out their range of custom-made, tailored superhero costumes. Ridiculously good quality, value, and customization. Link is in the description below, as well as my coupon code CHANNELPUP, where you can get a discount off of your purchase. And while you're at it, why not get your suit designed by my talented buddy Dan from New Blood Dan's workshop? You can contact him via the link in the description below. Seriously guys, you do not want to miss out on your chance to be your favorite superhero and feel authentic and professional. And you don't want to miss out on that Channel Pup discount.
Can you feel the sunshine? Does it